of Camacol and welcome to Camacol Talk. This is a weekly video podcast we do every Friday morning, 11 a.m. on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. We speak with members of Camacol, leaders that are associated with the organization, and many, many more. This week's guest is a personal friend and another one of these great leaders in our community. Gabriel Rodriguez. He is the president of the Florida Custom Brokers Association based in the city of Doral, an organization that's been around about 60 years now. They are part of one of the largest industries, logistics and transportation. Let's sit back and let's look at my conversation with Gabriel. All right, with me now is Gabriel Rodriguez. What's going on, my brother?
Good, man. How are you? Everything well?
Everything terrific, man, and thank you so much for being with us on Camacol Talk. This has been a very terrific journey so far, and having you part of it is just going to add more excitement and more great conversation. Gabriel, the Florida Custom Broker Association has been around a long time. Why don't you give us a little bit of a background on what the organization is, how many years, how many members?
Awesome. Yeah. So thank you first and foremost for having me aboard here. Always love talking about trade and talking about the association. So any opportunity I can get to do that, I love it. FCBF, the Florida Custom Brokers and Forwarders, they've been around for just over 60 years. I think it's 64 years now. Established by some of the pioneers in our industry just to get together, to network, and to kind of exchange ideas and make sure that the industry itself is being protected. And that's fortunately carried on for all these years. We've got about 400 core members of the group, and the number's probably larger than that when you put associate memberships and all that kind of different partnerships that we have together. But it's all throughout the state of Florida, and so it's primarily customs brokers and freight forwarders, and then the ancillary businesses that go along with that. So your steamship lines, your airlines, your warehouses, your truckers, the ports, airports, insurance companies, surety companies, bonding companies, attorneys, everybody that makes up,
Sure.
what is trade, and then importers and exporters as well, right? So it's a pretty great association. We do a lot of stuff to make sure that we're keeping the industry on the up and up, that we're making sure that education, advocacy, and just general networking is always being taken care of. So it's a really great organization. And, as I mentioned, we're a growing organization still. I think we're just a small, piece of what is the industry at large, and looking to continue growing and continue building that network of industry professionals.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, you guys I don't know if you still do, have a partnership with Miami-Dade College, a logistics program.
We do. Great question. Great point. Actually, we're working very hard with that recently. So Miami-Dade College, we actually have a partnership with most of the universities and colleges here in South Florida.
Okay.
But in particular with MDC recently, we've been doing a lot of work. MDC does have now a supply chain and a bachelor's in supply chain and logistics, and an associate's as well. That came about through partnership with FCBF. Some members in the past that pitched in to either teach the courses or build the curriculum. And most recently, we've been reconnecting here with the West Campus, which we're hoping to get that program housed here. It's currently housed in the South Campus. But there's been a lot of work. Pedro Costa and Alina Treba, who have been helping out over there at MDC to kind of promote those programs. And we're trying to do it in conjunction with FCBF membership,
Sure.
so that we can offer those programs to our employees or potential employees to kind of build up, the educational level. I mean, listen, when I came into this business 20 some odd years ago, I got my customs broker's license, and that was it. Hit the ground running. I went out to look to see if I could get some type of a college degree in the trade. And the only thing that was really available was like an international business degree, which is very superficial for the day-to-day stuff that we do. And now with these new programs, fortunately, they're now building that base of knowledge that a typical employee in supply chain logistics would need in order to be successful in their career. So it's a nice partnership, and we're looking to continue growing that as well. Trying to just, spread the word and see how many students we can get into those programs to either be eventual employees of the industry or current employees, to further their education in the industry.
Well, you and I know that your offices are in the city of Doral.
Yep.
And that is the hub of logistics supply chain in South Florida, really. And
Yep.
that's why Doral exists today,
Yep.
because of that industry. It kind of spurred everything else that's going on. And it's so good to see these types of programs being available because, as you said, when you got in it early in the game, there wasn't any type of formalized program, and yeah, you're studying international trade, but it's very macro. It doesn't,
Correct.
get specific enough. I think now this is a great step forward, for the industry and the professionals that are in there. And we all know if we don't see trucks on the road and planes flying and ships bringing in cargo, we don't have an economy. I mean,
Absolutely.
and we saw some hints of that a little bit last year with the COVID lockdown and all that. So this is a great segue to COVID. Uh,
Yeah.
how were you guys able to navigate? Again, everything is moving and stuff like that. Tell us about your experience as an industry and as an association.
So yeah, so great points, Pete. I mean, when COVID hit and it shut everything down, our industry continued to work. We were considered essential employees. For what little was still, going through the supply chain, it still had to move. And so we were here working, our warehouse employees, and you talk about heroes, and definitely, our medical professionals, our police, our first responders, those guys, they're frontline for all of that
Yep.
stuff. But a lot of people forget, there's some major heroes in our warehouse guys and in our truckers, that were out there every day exposing themselves to the same risks that everybody else did. And so, shout out to all those guys, because honestly, we ran out of toilet paper, but we still had everything else, right? And so that's due in large part due
I
to
never understood that, to be honest with you.
a run on the toilet paper. But it's like a run on gas a couple of weeks ago. It's
Exactly.
all speculation, but fortunately, these guys kept things going. And so, as far as the association was concerned, we took a hit like everything else. The economy completely stopped. And we as an association had to kind of reinvent ourselves a little bit, like most everybody else. We jumped on the Zooms, we jumped on the Teams meetings and all that kind of stuff, and still continued our core group of networking and our core group of education, and started doing some seminars and had some really great success in doing that, because we weren't only able to do the stuff here in Miami, we're able to have it offered throughout the entire state and even the entire country, which is what the benefit of these online programs now will provide you. And so we kind of shifted to that aspect. And now, taking it back to our prior conversation over this last year, what we did is we started to record a lot of the material that is in the day-to-day training. So you onboard somebody, a new employee, into one of our companies, and it takes time, to bring somebody up to speed on your processes, on the regulations. We're so heavily regulated as an industry. I mean, as
Absolutely.
a customs broker,
Yeah.
we've got something like 50 federal agencies that in one way, shape, or form regulate, trade. And so what we did is we launched a trade academy, and went down to the very nitty-gritty specifics of what it is to work in this industry, to be a customs broker, to be a freight forwarder. And they launched the Trade Academy earlier this year. It's been very successful thus far, and it's something that we developed to be able to assist companies like ours, small companies that are just fighting to make it through each day, in bringing on a new employee and having them educated in the day-to-day activities that they'll be doing. And I had mentioned to you earlier in a prior conversation, kudos goes out to Megan Conyers, our executive vice president. It was a little bit of her brainchild, and it's been all of her sweat and tears to put that together. And we've had some support from some of our board members, Ralph De La Rosa and Elena Asturia and Lourdes de Leon. All of them, jumped in to do different recordings and different trainings, so that we can offer that now to our industry and our membership and our industry at large. So that's a little bit of the shift that we did. And fortunately, through the support of our great members and new initiatives like that, the occasional networking event, a few bucks here, a few bucks there. We had our golf tournament, fortunately, at the beginning of the year, and that was a great success. And so, little by little, we're making ends meet, and we're growing the organization. So it's been tough, but it's been a good road.
You said something a little while ago that the nonprofit world, whenever there's a downturn in the economy, whether it's what we experienced in 2008, 9, 10, the Great Recession, or other times of adversity and challenges, COVID now, where it affects the economy, the nonprofit organizations are the ones, everybody gets affected, but that group, is affected the most, because in the minds of so many that are business owners, business professionals, they're looking around and saying, okay, where can I cut costs? If I have the money that I have right now and what I know what's going to happen, or moving forward, where should I allocate my dollars? And many times over, and I think this is a obviously a mistake, is the growth of your business, the connection to an industry through educational platforms, or the marketing, the networking, and getting to meet other like-minded folks or potential customers. Those monies are withdrawn, and the money is only spent on the absolute essential, or what we think is essential, for a short time basis. So nonprofits, which live off of membership dues and sponsorships of events, are pretty significantly hit.
Yeah, not gonna lie, we took our hit, definitely, but
Yeah,
you mentioned a great word, right? Value. So I think the value that we provide as an organization to our industry is recognized, and fortunately, we had enough of our membership stay on board, that it allowed us to float through this time period. And it's the value that we provide as an organization. At the end of the day, as an organization, FCBF is providing those networking events where there's those exchange of ideas. We're doing the educational seminars. We're doing things like the Trade Academy so that we can assist. And then we're also doing a ton. I mentioned earlier, 50 different government agencies. We're still doing a ton of advocacy, behind the scenes.
sure,
There's a
absolutely.
lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of change. The last couple of years, whichever side of the aisle you lie on, Trump tariffs and all the different stuff that was going on, shipping right now in the world is upside down. And so those things affect a lot, the industry and the trade, and FCBF has been there, like a beacon, just guiding us through all this and representing us and assisting. And when earlier last year there was changes to the customs brokers regulations, FCBF drew a crowd together. We gave our input. We sent letters to Congress, and we sent letters to customs, advising of what we wanted to see within those changes. Now the Federal Maritime Commission, shipping is again upside down, and so we're there at the front of that discussion, sending letters and having meetings with the different commissioners of the Federal Maritime Commission, representing our community here. And I think that type of value, once a company understands that there's somebody like that fighting for you out there, they're willing to continue the membership. And that's fortunately, what carried us through. We're not a terribly expensive organization to be a member of. And so, it's a few $100s a year. And so people see the value in what we're doing for them, and say, you know what, I'll spend that money because it's money well spent, in the future of my business. So that's kind of what's carried us through. And thankfully, again, as things reopen now, and now as we're booming, because this industry is just going nuts, it's off the charts. Fortunately now more and more people see, wow, FCBF had a role to play in that, in guiding us through these downturns. And then, and as things ramp up now, still being there as a champion for the industry. So it's been pretty good in that aspect. Yeah.
So moving forward, again, no pun intended. We want to see more and more trucks, obviously, because we know the freight, the products are being moved around, and that's a good thing.
Yep.
Sometimes we complain there's too many trucks on the road, especially when you're in Northwest 25th Street in Doral.
Yep.
You got that problem, but again, that's a good problem to have. You don't want to see an empty 25th Street at all, because that's a bad sign. We're almost at the midpoint of 2021. What do you have on your agenda for the rest of let's say the summer, and then moving into the latter part of the year?
Yeah, so fortunately, as things start to reopen here in our great state of Florida, we're going back to our regular programming. And so the regular schedule that we normally had was a monthly general membership meeting, which is usually a luncheon. And some of the members that we lost over the last year had mentioned that, like, hey, that's really one of the reasons why I was participant in it, is because you guys had those different events. So, we're going back to that. We normally have a regular general membership meeting once a month. And then more important than that, again, we are big on education, on providing the what's going on in different changes in regulations and whatnot. And so we've got something like 30 some odd seminars scheduled, for the balance of the year. For example, now at the end of the month, we'll have a seminar for freight forwarders on shippers' letters of instructions. so that we can guide them through that. So we'll have those different events going throughout the year. And then we're also part of the national organization. And so the national organization has a couple of different events that they carry out throughout the year. The next one should be in September, which is the Government Affairs Conference. We hit the hill, and hopefully we'll be able to do that again this year. It's in, we'll see, but hopefully we'll be able to do it. That's normally towards the end of September. And, we hit the hill by the droves, 200-300 people from the industry, attacking all of our different, congressional offices and, running in there with our white papers and our information and whatnot, trying to get, the change to regulations that are needed to keep this business and industry moving forward. So we've got a lot on the schedule. Again, 30 some odd events, probably 10 or 12 different in-person meetings. And then we'll start prepping again, for next year. We normally have a conference, the Conference of the Americas. We're calling that now the TSA. So the new conference will probably ramp up in February of next year. So we'll spend the latter part of this year planning for that, and we're going to combine that with our golf tournament. So it'll be like a 1.5-day, 2-day conference, and then a golf tournament to close it out here in sunny South Florida.
I love it, man. Before we wrap it up, this is a loaded question, and I like asking this question periodically of my guests. What's the biggest lesson you learned from the whole COVID thing?
COVID was tough for everybody for all the obvious reasons. To me, you mentioned earlier an empty street. We don't want to see an empty street. I never stayed home one day throughout this whole entire pandemic. Yeah. I came to work every single day. I live and work here in Doral. I have for the last 20 some odd years. And, I would drive down the street and the street was empty, for a good several months, and come into the office here. And I think it caused a lot of reflection on who we are as humanity and whatnot. The one lesson I take away, and it's not a business lesson, it's more of a human lesson, is to continue to trust and appreciate, the humanity and what we have, and our business itself. A lot of technology now coming to the forefront, a lot of things going on, in that aspect. Like I said, tons of regulations, 50 different government agencies pitching in, but it's still a relationship of business, right? It's still, you and me transacting whatever transaction it is to move cargo from here to there. And so an appreciation for that is really what I took away from COVID, is to really appreciate, that the human touch and the relationships that we have. So that for me was the biggest thing that COVID, and COVID was horrible. It really was. But I see that silver lining, that blessing that, that we were able to reconnect, to humanity in some shape or form, throughout that time period. And I hope it doesn't get lost.
That's a great point, my friend. It's an adversity will either make you or break you.
Yep.
And unfortunately, a lot of people were broken down and they're still struggling. Many are not with us anymore, and then others made it. But by making it, they went to a whole different level.
Sure.
And they come to what you just said, right? It's perfect, because at the end of the day, it is about our lives. Business is there, but we apply that to what we're experiencing to our business life. How can the viewers find out more about the association?
So the association, you can jump on the web. The web's always the easiest way to get to things. fcbf.com. Check out all our information there, and there's our event calendar and all the different information we have on there. It's probably the easiest way to go through and get through to us.
Gabriel, my friend, thank you so much for taking time, and congratulations on all the great work you're doing for such an important industry, and not just Doral, but all of South Florida.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you.
Take care, man. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks once again to Gabriel Rodriguez from the Florida Custom Brokers Association. Remember, this show, Camacol Talk, is on every Friday morning, 11 a.m. on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, Camacol Doral. We want to thank the sponsors of this program, the City of Doral, Baptist Health, City Place Doral, and Equitable Advisors. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and of course on Instagram. Thank you so much for being with us. Have yourself a terrific week.